hello, you lovelies, and welcome to December 2022. This is KoiCast. I am Koi Jandro, a Bostonian who loves pop culture, comic books, and people. And with me, as ever, is the great, the talented, the wonderful, the fully voiced, well, slightly more voiced than me, Jake Lloyd Bacon. How you doing, man?
Better than you.
Dude, we are at the end of the year, and it feels like it.
Yeah, you have been doing too much shit.
I didn't let my foot off the gas this year after a full 11 months of saying, I should really let my foot off the gas. And here I've been rewarded with just feeling awful.
Yeah, you barely have a voice. You have the despite the fact that you still are somehow yelling too loudly. You're still too loud.
It's a gift. I whisper yell when I can't.
Yeah,
like when I can't full volume yell, I whisper.
But no,
yell.
you have like the energy of like an old dog who's ready. Like
oh God,
like an old dog who's like he's listen, he's still cute. He's
seen a lot.
He's ready.
He's seen it. He
ready.
knows what's coming. It's around the corner. I walked in to the studio today, and I definitely noticed Jake being like, yeah, he's not good. He's not well. That's not the aura of a man that's thrilled.
I mean, you have a full thing of like cold brew coffee, and I still offered you some extra
That's
coffee.
the level I'm at.
I was like, do you want?
And I'll need it.
Would you like something?
Sir, you need help. I see that you have help. You need more help.
And it should be known that when you're well, you go through cough drops like they're candy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alexandra got ill this past week, a little bit over a week ago, and was like, Koi ate all the cough drops. And I was like, all right, I'll go get you some more.
I don't often come to bathrooms with Ricola.
Well,
it's delightful.
You listen, they're there for a reason too.
Yeah, because we record for hours at a time.
Exactly.
So let the record show, and to the great Alexandra, I usually only have 2 per session because I do one for the main pod, one for the Patreon pod.
Well, you have a break. You can't have it in your mouth while you're doing an episode, even though you've tried.
I have tried. Didn't work out.
I'm like, you want to wait until you're done with that?
Is that a choice you're making? I actually started this episode with a mask, and Jake was like, please don't do that.
Do you want to take that off?
Do you want to not be Deadpool?
Yeah.
It was an excellent reference.
Yeah.
It is. It's the end of the year. Not a lot of news at the end of the year, but we wanted to make sure we weren't dark for the entire month of December. Have you watched any of the trailers that I presumably will be talking about?
Nope. No interest, because they're all ones that
you're gonna see anyway.
They're all ones that I'm like, yeah, no, I'm in for these.
Like Indy 5 doesn't need your pitch.
But you know what? I would.
Yeah.
I'd watch it. Like if you were like, hey, let's talk about it. Like we could take a break and I could see it if you really want.
It's really special.
Yeah.
Let's watch it. Let's check the tape.
Right. Do you want to do it right now?
Let's do it right now.
Start with Indy?
Yeah.
Right.
I think you'll especially dig it, and I especially want your take.
Okay. We'll be back in a moment.
So the reason I wanted you to see that trailer is I think this is the biggest 180 I've had with a trailer, where I've gone from like, I have no interest in Indy again. Like, because I love Indy.
That looks really fun, but yeah, that last movie was atrocious.
And I was like, he's 70. I've been very team let Harrison rest. And I feel like when I saw this footage, I was like, oh no, he wants to go out well. And the trailer did that in a minute and a half. And I don't think a trailer's done that for me in a long time.
Having her, I didn't know she was in it.
Yeah.
What's her name again?
Oh,
yeah,
she's great. Mr. and Mrs. Smith. She just left it. She's from Fleabag.
Yeah, she's stuck. Can't think of her name now. But anyways, she's friends with Jessica Knappert. I could name the obscure British comedian, but I can't think of the famous person. Who's
and I could name the thing she just left with
an award-winning thing's name. It's gonna drive me crazy. We'll get there, but. She's great. That's so good. That's a really good person to add to that. She has the confidence. She has the swagger. It's like, it's fun, but it's like unique. There was that one moment in the trailer. Did she look to the camera?
I hope.
Was that? I hope. It looked like it was a Fleabag nod.
Don't you do that?
Because there was that moment where she was on it looked like she was on a motorcycle or on the back of something that was like a motorcycle, and she like whipped and looked at camera, and I immediately went, "Oh no, don't do that."
Oh, I hope they don't.
Did you not notice that?
I did not. So I'm hoping it was just the way
it looked like she did that. I mean, I actually have it up right now. I can just kind of pull it back.
But I do think that as legacy sequels go, this looks really like the way to end.
It looks fun. I mean, there's lots of little nods. It's clearly a time jumping. We're clearly going to see a lot of young Indy.
So people are saying it's either time travel or I think
no.
I mean, I hope not. I hope it's a like a greatest hits. I hope it's Indy telling the story of his life.
Well, I think we're going to get an explanation of who these people are that we're supposed to have known this entire time. Like,
right.
It's the sequel problem.
Right.
It's the, I mean, listen, we're Wakanda Forever, but there's like, it's we need this to continue, but we clearly have omitted the people that are going to continue this, so let's just say they were hidden the whole time.
Look at them over there to the left. They've been here the whole time.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find that moment, but I could have sworn she looked at the camera. But the cast is exceptional. It looks really fun.
And James Mangold, I mean, he is so incredible.
Yeah. This whole, it looks fun. It looks very, she totally looks at the camera.
Oh, no.
I mean, I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to try to get a pause here. I mean, this looks, you can't see my screen.
See your screen.
Like, I wish I could just put it up.
I believe
1 minute and 17 seconds of the,
maybe it's an
you know
accident.
what? This is what I'll do. We have so much technology set up in the studio.
There are
I can do
4 or 5
I can
screens.
do so many things, but instead what I'm going to do
take a photo of it.
I'm going to take a
Show me
photo.
it.
This.
Oh, she does. I don't like that. I don't like that.
It looks like she is. What's
Wonder
that guy's name?
James.
James. What's that guy's name? The Grindelwald.
Oh yeah.
We were so good with names right
guys,
now.
We're the name.
End of the year. End
guys,
of the year,
pop
baby.
culture show. If you want to watch a pop culture show with facts, this isn't the one.
I promise I'm great at trivia. Except,
Toby Jones?
No.
He's in there too, though.
But anyways, she's clearly like pulling him out of a car or something, and I swear to God,
Looks like she's looking at camera.
She could be looking past camera
to someone.
But they linger on it just long enough.
It also worries me because maybe we're thinking it because of Fleabag.
Well, it could also be a fun thing that they put in a trailer,
right?
That isn't in a movie, or it is her looking past camera, but they thought, this kind of looks like a camera, and cheeky. It's funny. Yeah, it's cheeky. It could just be funny, cheeky. Again, trailers are bullshit. Trailers aren't even the fucking movies.
No,
we've learned that this she might not even be in this fucking movie.
If trailers have taught us anything. To be in it. But yeah, I really dug that trailer. It made me like I wasn't excited for Indy 5. I considered it a trilogy. I was worried 4 hurt me, and now I'm in.
Yeah, it's fun, and that like the score does a lot of heavy lifting, and the iconography is great, and the scene at the end with the whip and the guns. I part of me was expecting him to be like, oh, that's how that feels, but it was good that he just knew what was coming. Like, there's some fun nods. This was my concern. Was we all hated Indy 4 because it didn't feel like an Indiana Jones movie, right? But then we got a bunch of other. Then we got like Ghostbusters Afterlife, and we got all these other things that were just like we're just gonna do all the exact same things but more poorly, and it's like we're not happy either way. Right? I don't want to just see the greatest hits. I don't want to just see you remake the motions. Yeah, it's same thing with Force Awakens, where it's like.
That was a remake.
Where it was just like, like at the end of the day, I don't need an Indy remake, but also don't swing so hard off the cuff that you give us.
It's not the same franchise.
That you give us alien skulls.
Have you watched Andor yet? Any of it?
No, I haven't seen.
Okay, because I know you haven't watched any of the Star Wars shows. They're doing a really good job of, and that one is removed enough that you wouldn't have to watch the other one.
Right, everybody says that.
Okay, but it's doing a good job of not being like color by numbers while also being in universe.
It's a new chapter of the thing you know.
Yeah.
It's not a remake of the thing you know or a complete departure of the thing you know.
And it's not a Skywalker story, which is what I think is nice. But yeah, really dug that trailer. Same day that trailer came out, the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer came out. I know
that I'm not going to watch.
But I was going to say, I know you, if the movie you're going to just see, you're going to see. This one it's the Guardians. The trailer itself, I was thinking about it. I think if this one sticks the landing, Guardians might be my
Phoebe
favorite.
Waller-Bridges.
There it is. I knew it was a 3-name name.
There it is.
Did you look it up or just
no? It just came to me.
I saw you look up in the sky
because I was going to look it up because I also wanted to see the name of the little guy who's always a Nazi.
Yep.
Who I also saw in the trailer. Oh,
I think that's why I thought you were talking about Toby Jones.
No, I was talking about Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen, the big bad guy.
Yeah.
You said James, and I got confused.
Listen,
but I think Toby Jones is who we're talking about.
Toby Jones is the little guy.
Little Nazi guy.
Yeah, that's Toby Jones. Yeah, he's always a little Nazi.
In every franchise, we need a little Nazi. We got Toby Jones.
Yeah.
But Guardians, I think if it sticks the landing, will be my favorite Marvel trilogy. So I was looking at the others, like I think I like Guardians 2 more than First Avenger, and I love the Cap trilogy. But I think Guardians has the potential to be that heart.
What's the Cap trilogy?
First Avenger, Civil War, Winter Soldier.
Oh, Civil War. I always forget that was a Captain America movie.
Right, because it's Avengers.
Yeah. Right. That was that guy.
Yeah.
This is why it's all dumb. It should just be called Marvel 1. Yeah.
Jake's big anthology series. You know what sells?
Although, can
numbers.
I say, and you need to end it at Endgame, and now everything should be named something different because. Now I feel like, this is just fucking all over the place. You don't need to see it. You don't need to see most of this shit.
Jake's had a cynical turn with Wakanda Forever.
God, I'm so upset.
I'm very curious because I liked Wakanda Forever. We're gonna have a talk.
Yeah, we'll talk.
We're gonna have a talk. But yeah, I that patron pod for those playing along at home. That's why we're gonna have a string of stuff. Okay. I mean, we could have it here.
It's up to you. You listen. Your name is on the program.
You know what? Let's as a Christmas gift, we usually review things over on the Patreon pod, but it's a mainstream film and people might want your thoughts. They've got mine.
So you want to do it later today? We'll end the show today.
We'll end the show today with Wakanda
Forever spoilers.
Yeah, because I'm all of the internet talking about it. They don't have your take.
Spoilers.
It's been out a month. It's time for spoilers.
Yeah.
Not a lot of news, but another bit of news is that did you hear what HBO Max might be
Wait,
called?
there's another trailer.
Oh.
Mario.
Oh, dude, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. You saw a trailer.
Yeah, who cares? I'm not going to see that piece of shit movie. But it's not made for me.
The trailer's delightful.
It's I'm not sold on Chris Pratt, but I still get it.
Completely not.
But
it's a trailer.
It's just like, hey, have you played a game in the past 20 years?
Want to live it?
It'll be in there.
Love it.
But yeah, it looks, honestly, the thing that I'm most bummed about is that I learned that Charlie Day is playing Luigi and it looks like he's barely in the movie and he's just there to scream.
I love those moments though. I love every moment we get him.
Yeah, so here's the thing is I don't care about Mario. I have no connection to those games. I played them when I was little, like the old NES games. I think the last game I played was probably Nintendo 64 Mario. That was probably the last game that I played. And
Mario Kart.
And I didn't even Mario Kart I never really cared about. Like it was fun to play with people, but I have no emotional attachment to it in any capacity.
Sure.
I don't think I ever owned it myself. Okay. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those things. I recognize that there's a lot of stuff in there. It looks like there's a nod to like Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
It looks like there's like all these little fun nods that I get.
Jack Black is Bowser's inspired.
That's fun. His voice sounded really cool in that one little clip, but
I was so in. Yeah. Like as trailers go, I was like, I did not have any interest. Oh, okay. Like I'm there open at night now.
Yeah, it's I think the internet might be ruining it for me.
I mean, there's no way the internet's not ruining everything for all of us.
Everything.
Hey, Twitter's still here though, as of press.
Hey,
50 employees. You know, it's just trucking along. Twitter's still just
any day now.
Who knows? We're gonna come back next year because we're off for like 4 weeks.
Yeah,
we're gonna come back and like, what is the world gonna be?
Yeah,
this is our biggest time jump since we've done the show.
Oh, as far as like the break we're gonna be taking. Yeah, we'll talk about the break at the end of the episode. But yeah, you're probably right.
So and like I don't know, like the last time we took our Christmas break was
I think we might have stopped recording on the 12th of the month.
I think so
because it was before Spider-Man No Way Home had come out. You had already seen it at a thing, but it wasn't released, and I had not seen. You know what I mean? Like,
But like this is a big time jump, and the world's really tumultuous. Like it's a very interesting time to be like, let's see what happens in a month.
Yeah.
Like because considering you told me about Elon Musk buying Twitter, like as far as big news goes, that's one of the biggest. Like it is a big deal to be off Twitter, and then to take a month is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, last little bit of news.
Oh yeah, HBO. You said
HBO. Have you heard what they're gonna call?
They're changing the name of HBO Max.
Yeah.
To what?
Max.
They're just calling it Max.
They're getting rid of the brand itself. Why would you? What a direction! Like HBO is synonymous with quality content.
Also, we don't have to keep dropping things.
Yeah.
From
not
titles. Like it wasn't taking up that much time.
It wasn't a brevity issue.
Is it because
the Discovery merger?
It's because of Discovery. I was gonna say I thought it was maybe more because they wanted to lean into the Warner name.
It's literally gonna just call it Max.
Right.
But like, what a dumb name for! I mean, to me, that's a really silly name.
And that is going to be the combination of HBO Max and Discovery Plus. What's the Discovery one called? Is it Plus?
Discovery Plus.
Yeah,
it's just everything's called Plus. They're dropping that. I'm glad it's not Max Plus.
I'm okay with them calling it Max if it has a cute little dog mascot.
I would like that. I support that.
I just when I hear that, I think of like a little
puppy, a little wishbone looking boy.
I go like golden retriever, like a puppy golden retriever named Max.
Okay, see, I think of Airbud then.
Oh, I don't.
That dog
I never saw Airbud.
What?
I never saw any of the Air.
You've never seen the dog as sports star movies?
I've never seen him play soccer.
Oh
I've never
my
seen
God!
Him play basketball. I don't think he played hockey, but if he did, I haven't seen it.
He played football. He's very good. He's a football champion.
Which football? American football or soccer?
American football.
We already said.
I think you covered the European football. This is American.
Did you follow? Are you a World Cup person?
I'm not.
Okay.
Were you?
No. But my favorite thing. Favorite thing was all of the people stating like, all right, if America wins, it's now just soccer worldwide.
That's so funny. I love that so much.
It has to be called soccer.
We've claimed it. Who won?
I have fucking no idea.
All right, guys, we're bad Brits.
You want to know who won? The fascists of Qatar. They're the ones who won.
Yeah, because
the corrupt company that is FIFA.
We did talk about Qatar more than I heard about Qatar more than I ever have before. Gross. It's what a time to be weirdly alive. But yeah, not a ton of stuff going on. I mean, it's the end of the year. December is what it is.
Here's the thing about calling it Max.
Yeah,
is there has to be another company that has
the
Max
name Max
in. No, well, just like has it in the title.
I mean, it's like the biggest, like the most common.
Is there not like a Apple? So I guess there's a lot of pluses. Apple Plus, Disney Plus, Discovery was Plus, Paramount. God, everything is a plus. I just realized it's all pluses.
Yeah,
because I was thinking like there has to be like a join Apple Max or something like that. But yeah, I guess HBO was the only one.
Yeah, Disney Plus really like started a thing, and now streaming is just plus.
Was it? I think Apple was the first one. Was it not?
Let's see. Apple's Apple TV. It's not even a plus. It's just called Apple TV.
You're right. I always call it Apple Plus.
My brain just went, they couldn't be the first. It's not even true.
What was the first streaming service called Plus? Yeah, you might be right. I think it was Disney Plus. Things we Googled.
Oh, that's amazing.
The first streaming service, the use of the plus sign goes back to it really goes back to television networks. So technically the very first ever one was a French television channel called Canal Plus.
Oh, good for them.
And they use the actual like plus sign
Claimed
instead
it.
of saying yeah. But yeah.
I guess the only other big bit of news, and it's kind of old now, but we haven't been here in a couple weeks. The Bob Iger, Bob Chapek Disney thing. I think that's a really interesting, like what that ramifications are.
Oh yeah, we have a new Bob.
We have a new Bob. We swapped Bobs. We have a much more park friendly Bob, a much less apparently stingy Bob, a less angry Bob.
Speaking of Disney,
what about Bob?
That's a great movie. Speaking of Disney,
yeah.
Under the umbrella, do I know what the first plus was as a streaming as a service, like an application?
What do we got?
We didn't even think of it. None of us even came across it. Started in 2018. And by the way, it is called Apple TV Plus.
So, it's Apple TV. That's excessive.
That's
redundant.
That started in 2019.
Okay.
The same year that Disney Plus and BET Plus came out. So those three pluses all happened in 2019. But in 2018, ESPN Plus.
No shit.
It all started with
Disney,
sports, but which was Disney as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But Disney took their name from ESPN. Sports did it first. That is shocking.
And I wonder if at some point they were like, oh, ESPN Plus, we'll start Disney Plus, then we'll rename it Hulu Plus.
I guarantee that was at least a meeting.
Right. Somebody was told, we'll think about it.
We'll circle back in the new year. We'll circle back in 2019.
Sorry. So
there's a graphic of that somewhere.
It's like they
Hulu
hired,
Plus, they're like, whoa.
The person who pitched it.
Yeah.
Hired an outside designer that they put
the ratio of the plus
their own money on
100%.
And it was like they incorporated it into the second U. And people were like, why does it say Hulu? Yeah, it doesn't.
Holt? What is Holt?
All right. I don't know shit about Disney.
Okay.
I don't know why the guy who was there was bad. I don't know why the old guy is good. All I know is that people seem to be excited that another rich white dude is going to run a giant corporation. And I thought, all right, well, we're all very happy for, I suppose. But what's the big deal?
So,
explain it to the people who may be listening who are like me, which I'm assuming are in the minority.
Okay.
But who just go like, okay, what? It's Disney.
So we're going to go old Bob, new Bob for cleanness. Okay. Old Bob, as in the one that was just fired unceremoniously, like kicked out of the castle.
See, that's already, I know your naming technique is already difficult because isn't the new Bob also an old Bob?
But they're both old Bobs.
Most recent Bob. And new Bob.
Yes.
How about those?
Okay, I like that because new Bob is currently sitting Bob and fired Bob. Okay, so fired Bob was very stingy with the money. It was all about like high profit, even at cost. So a lot of the cutting of visual effects budgets, a lot of like the things that caused a lot of the issues with Disney Plus shows, that was fired Bob. Like he apparently was, it doesn't matter. We're an empire. We can, do what we want. Not a good look. He also very famously got rid of all the loyalty programs at Disneyland, Disney World.
Okay.
The parks, he was a guy that was like, oh, the parks are, you should be paying $600 for your family to come in. Like he was that guy.
Got it.
So very much like, and I don't want to use the word authoritative, but like it's got a lot of like, I want profit.
He was just, he was a capitalist. He was
aggressive.
They're all capitalists.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to be delicate. Like what that doesn't change. Currently sitting Bob was a big parks guy, but he loved brand loyalty. So he's the guy that always wants like you to be, he sought his family. So like, if you're in Disney and you're in California, you should have this pass. Like he's big on like that sort of thing. And he is one of the big advocates for spending more money on shows because it's more hours. So he's a guy that's going to be restructuring. And now we're hearing a lot of talk of, they might actually be scrapping some of the announced shows and movies in phase 5 and 6, or at least repositioning.
I heard that like, Marvel thinking about going back to quality over quantity. I thought, thank God.
Well, and that's what I think he brings, right? Is he's not just like, make something new every month. He wants the brand to I think Fired Bob was we're too big to fail, Bob. And then this Bob is like, we're a family. Yes, I want your money, but I want the name to mean something, Bob.
Right.
That's why people are happy.
Did you know that they both have the same first and middle names? Did you know that they're both Robert Allens?
That is insane.
So apparently
just a couple of billionaire Robert Allens.
You have to be a Robert Allen something in order to be
Robert Allen Disney is an like what are the chances? Like statistically, that's improbable.
They're both have the same first two names.
That's crazy. That's the whitest shit I've ever heard.
So ultimately, this is good for the Disney Plus fans
and for the quality of Marvel, I think, and Star Wars.
Okay.
Also, he wants Star Wars movies in theaters. One of the things that Fired Bob didn't, he was like,
he
this
no
brand
more.
is, which is crazy. Like Star Wars, as much as you and I, struggle with some of the fandom, like I think Star Wars movies in theaters are very important.
Also, didn't they always make a ton of money?
A ton of money.
So, like, was his argument just that the shows were underperforming?
I think his argument
because the shows are underperforming, people wouldn't go to a movie.
I think he saw the 9 as concluding a thing, and he wanted to branch out, and then he just followed into the Skywalker stuff again. Though that's the issue is they didn't greenlight anything. Right. Like the Kathleen Kennedy era, like we were supposed to have that Patty Jenkins fighter pilot movie,
right?
And like that was effectively Top Gun in space.
Right.
We saw how well Top Gun did this year. Like that could have been really something special. So we're seeing retroactively how bad these decisions were. Like, why not have a Top Gun in space with a Star Wars logo on it?
Right.
So I'm really curious with him what comes back, what doesn't. Sure. And then in the world of James Gunn and Peter Safran, the other side of the house, apparently the directors of Batgirl are actually getting a meeting with James Gunn. Like things are moving and grooving.
Maybe they might unshelve it.
I don't know legally if they can, because I think they took that tax money.
They released. Oh, right. Of course. Yeah. They're not allowed. Yeah.
Well, so unless they return that money,
or they're just going to give them a new project to work on. What if they just make them remake
Batgirl?
Remake, but different name?
Yeah.
Because all that matters is that they can't make a movie called what that was.
Right.
So they just renamed the movie.
They make a Batwoman movie. They change it to the other.
Reshoot it, but they just have to reshoot everything. Start over. They could legally do that. They're legally allowed to do that. It's going to cost them a ton of money, but maybe less than they made on the tax break. I don't know. Who knows? Was it like $90 million they lost?
So it's a weird time right now.
It's a weird time.
Because all these CEOs are changing hands. Like the two biggest empires just changed hands at once. Like effectively within a month.
Did you see the Flash art that came out?
Yeah.
That's like, I already know about this movie now because you released Flash art. I'm still it's still crazy to me, the conundrum
a debacle
that DC is in with this, because I'm just realizing it is a year since No Way Home has come out.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they announced that they were doing Flashpoint? And I thought, this is great for DC because for the first time, they're going to be ahead of the game because they're going to do a multiverse.
Right.
And they're going to, and instead, Marvel's going to be the one who feels like they're copying and playing catch up to try to incorporate their other brands. And it's now been a year since Marvel has done a movie with 3 Spider-Men.
And that has opened up everything in the multiverse.
And we literally still haven't seen a single frame of fucking.
No. And like I've had people that have seen it and apparently it's exceptional.
The Flashpoint movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, so what happens is basically they've got to do licensing deals.
Sure.
So they got to start showing it in order to have licenses sold and figured out. So those people have seen it and basically like they say it's like Dark Knight good. So they're like, every single one of them is upset because none of them feel great about the idea that like Ezra. Right. So everyone I've talked to is the most conflicted of like, yeah, it's incredible.
Who's
I feel awful about
movie?
It. Genius director, Andy Muschietti.
What are they? I don't know the name.
He did It. He did.
What's the first name?
Andy.
Oh, I thought you said Annie. I was
like,
Andy
Muschietti.
I like that name. Andy. I know, I'm joking.
I was like, oh no.
Muschietti?
Yep.
Oh, look at that last name. Oh, are we related? It doesn't get much more Italian than this.
There he is.
All right. I am not convinced. What's James Gunn's brother's name?
Sean?
I am not convinced that this isn't a Sean Gunn Halloween costume. That Andres Muschietti is amazing. Not. He's
just Sean Gunn in a wig.
Oh, this is the dude who did It.
Yeah.
Which was one really good movie.
One great movie. He also
and then a bunch of horror stuff.
Which is a lot of what DC does.
Yeah,
he did Mama, which I dug.
Yeah.
One of my friends was meeting with him for a role.
Wait,
so
what is this? Sorry.
Yeah.
Did they make a Shadow of the Colossus movie? Based on the video game, or is this not out yet? Is this like
maybe that's an in production. Maybe that's after Flash.
It doesn't have a poster.
Oh yeah, it's probably after Flash.
Got it.
But I had met this guy a couple times because one of my friends was testing for something with him, and he's a comic nerd. So like he was excited to meet me because he actually had someone to talk to about comic stuff.
Right.
And then when I heard he was attached after 15 directors left this project, I was like, oh, they gave it to a guy that actually wants to make a comic movie. And then from everything I've heard from screenings, like it's incredible. So now I'm like, well, shit, like I don't think you can do press tours from prison, but like I'm really curious what this even looks like to release.
Right.
Because it is coming out next year. And like, I imagine it is the only way for James Gunn and Peter Safran to launch their universe. Like, I imagine the end of this allows for a clean slate.
I mean, does both Flashes die?
They have to
just to call it a day.
Yeah, and just or like the Flashpoint like resets the universe, right? Like you just have a clean slate.
So
like,
but then if it does that, then is he gone, or would they just recast Flash?
Recast.
And the idea
the
is
last scene is like the new. Yeah. That's what I'd do.
They just fucking Doctor Who that shit.
Exactly. Like at the end, you're like, oh, hello,
like,
new Doctor.
We're going to see the new
Flash number 11.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's not a good spot.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And then you got Aquaman and, the stuff coming out after with the same Snyder actors.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
And Wonder Woman's like, maybe we didn't get it's a lot, dude. We're going to look back on this podcast of chaos right before Christmas being like, when they didn't know how messy it became. Like, it's already such a fucking.
Right.
All right, I'm going to give you guys some comic recommendations, and then we're going to get to Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, we also have to name the December Unpunchable gift horse. That's coming up too.
So comics, horses, Wakandans. All right, we got the comic books first from the week of the 16th. My favorite books were Batman One Bad Day, Mr. Freeze. You guys remember about a month ago, I talked about Batman One Bad Day, Riddler, as one of my favorite comics of the year, probably one of my favorite Batman comics of all time. This is in that thing. Words are hard. This is in that same anthology series. You don't have to have read a comic at all. These are literally like kind of like trades you can just pick up. And this is if that one bad day happened to Batman that pushed him over the edge, but with Mr. Freeze. So it's a really cool love story. It deals with Nora Freeze, and you get to catch up on all the mythology. Really good access point, especially since I think Mr. Freeze is going to be the villain of the Batman 2. Batman Superman World's Finest number 9, Gold Goblin number 1. I am shocked this made the list. Sometimes a writer...
Gold Goblin?
Yep.
Like Hobgoblin, Green Goblin, whole Gold Goblin.
So sometimes I think
just a mouthful.
It's hard to say, and there's a lot of goblins. So sometimes
I'm not upset that there's a goblin.
No,
it's the fact that you went with gold.
Gold.
Bronze Goblin is even better.
It's a little smoother.
Chrome Goblin.
Chrome Goblin sounds like a.
If you were trying to get
give her an old Chrome Goblin,
we do it wrong. But I'm sorry, you can say sometimes.
So sometimes a writer is handed a story where they're like put in a bad position, like they're trapped in a corner, and then they write gold. In this case, Gold Goblin. This is a story where Norman Osborn has been through. Do you remember the Sin Eater from the 70s Spider-Man comics?
The Sin Eater.
He was like a guy with a shotgun that was this religious zealot that thought he was cleansing people of their sins by killing them. It was a really dark story.
What was his name?
Sin Eater.
Sin Eater.
And it ties into there's some mythologies that like some religious cults have people eat the sins of others, and he killed Jean DeWolf in the Spider-Man comics a long time ago.
I looked at the images, and the images look familiar of just this dude in this green hood.
Yeah,
but I don't know that I've read them versus I've just seen pictures of him in comics.
So the Jean DeWolf story is one of the darker Spider-Man stories. It's a solid story.
I recognize this cover.
Yeah,
the Spectacular Spider-Man cover where he's holding a shotgun to this little kid.
Yes, terrifying.
Yes, that I do remember that cover.
Spidey got dark for a bit.
I don't know if I ever read this. I might have read it when I was little.
Might have just seen it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's an iconic character. So he came back and basically, cleansed Norman Osborn of his sins. So Norman's a good guy now. I don't always love when they do that. It usually doesn't work for me. But right now, Peter Parker's literally working for Norman Osborn. So all of this to say, this writer got trapped in a bad position where they have a Gold Goblin that's a good guy. There's literally a good Green Goblin right now of hero Norman, and somehow they made a great story. It's an issue number 1. It was captivating. You care about the pathos, the character.
The name sounds like a D&D villain from
Gold Goblin.
It sounds like a D&D villain from Stranger Things,
like Eddie would.
Gold Goblin, and
it does actually.
Or the shit demon, like it's
Eddie's favorite character, Gold Goblin.
Yeah, the Demogorgon and the Gold Goblin.
Somehow, against all odds, it's decent. Iron Man number 25 is actually 650 as well. It's the anthology number 650. It is Iron Man 25 of this continuity, and it's a one-off, and it's one of the best Iron Man stories I've ever read. It's really emotionally great. Murder World Avengers, the Avengers and Murder World have never, conflicted before, but it's a fascinating little issue. Nightwing 98, Something is Killing the Children 26, She-Hulk number 8, and Twig trade paperback number 1 from the 23rd, 2 weeks ago. I haven't finished this week's books. That's why we're doing 23rd. Action Comics 1049, Dark Spaces number 5, Daredevil number 5, Department of Truth 22, Doctor Strange False Sunrise. This is a new series of basically How do I? Doctor Strange has been dead for about a year and a half. This is Doctor Strange from the other side of death, trying to claw his way back to our reality. And it's really cool because a lot of times comic characters just come back. This is looking at the cost of magic and what this might look like for this version of spirituality to have something come back from the dead. And it's Trad Moore art. And Trad Moore is like if Steve Ditko did a lot of acid. Like his visuals are stunning and very like flowing.
I would like to have seen that.
Yeah, I would like to have shared that time.
Also, he probably
He did, but the technology wasn't there yet. This is the technology of Steve Ditko on a lot of acid. So the art is stunning, and it's basically Trad Moore is one of my favorite psychedelic artists. He was made for this book. It's really special. It's called Fall Sunrise. It's a new miniseries. Harley Quinn 24, Human Target number 9. Human Target number 9 is a Batman-centric issue of Human Target that is maybe some of the best off-panel Batman writing I've ever read in my life. It is a genius way to show Batman's impact on DC without Batman, and it's so powerful. Human Target, when Human Target's done, this might be up there with Mr. Miracle for me as like DC impact books. And it's the same writer, it's Tom King, who's a genius, who I was with in San Francisco, this dude is so humble. I kept like bragging about his book and he kept being like, it's just the art's great. It's just the art's great. Greg Smallwood did it all. And I was like, bro, you're writing one of the best stories in comics, but I love your humbleness. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, number 1, Punchline, the Gotham Game, number 2 are the recs I got for you lovelies from last week. I think it's time to crown a horse.
So it is the final gift horse
of 2022.
2022. And our first ever holiday gift horse.
Whoa. They're going to get lit up.
Because we have only ever, we started doing this in May.
Not a lot of holidays.
I mean, there were some holidays, but
we didn't do like a 4th of July horse.
None that matter.
No, come on now. Thanksgiving horse just sounds like a thing you eat.
Freedom horse. All right. So anyway, so what are we talking about? We're talking about, of course, the monthly Unpunchable Gift Horse of the Month contest, in which the gift horse tier patrons over at patreon.com/koicast get entered into a drawing to be named our gift horse of the month, the one and only.
The
superior. Oh, really?
I ran it while he was still crowned in San Francisco.
So we should pay homage to technically current. Still.
It hasn't been spun yet.
Yes. Gilbert Short, the gift horse of November.
He was at the Bay. He was wearing his Unpunchable shirt, so he was truly very gift horsey.
So here's the thing. We didn't recognize this pattern until now.
Gilbert's got hacked us.
Is every other Unpunchable gift horse since we started. He was the inaugural.
Yep.
And since we have done this, our gift horses have been Gilbert, Jacob Wood, Gilbert, Darth Vadad, Gilbert, Duger, Gilbert. This son of a bitch.
I don't know how he's doing it. I
think we're losing money on him.
100%. Guaranteed.
But listen, that's what it's about. It's
but
about
he sends us comics. It's a balance.
It's about giving something back to the people.
Yes.
And it's completely and totally random. Will Gilbert retain his title? Will he lose it and then just get it back again next month? That seems to be the
tune in January to find out
pattern. But the way we do this is we throw all of the eligible names into the wheelonames.com, not a sponsor, and we spin it. And it's as simple as that. Do you want to see who the Unpunchable gift horse of the month is?
I'm very excited.
Alrighty.
Holiday gift horse. That's when the gifts are the most gifty.
Our December Unpunchable gift horse of the month.
Who do we got?
Is first-time gift horse James Martinez.
Hey!
James Martinez, congrats. What does he get? Well, I'll tell you what he gets. He gets a free shirt or mask of his choosing from the shop over at dragonmagshop.com. He gets his name and lights in the Discord. I don't think James is in the Discord. Get in the Discord, James.
James, what are you doing?
If you are in the Discord and I just don't recognize your name because it's not James.
Yeah, maybe you use an alias.
Let me know that I might just be dumb and not paying attention.
Chime in.
If you are in the Discord, let me know and we will bestow you the title of Unpunchable Gift Horse. And of course, you get to pick something for Koi and I to watch. We're not going to get to it till next month.
Right.
For obvious reasons, because we probably won't know. Oh, maybe if you get in touch with us during our break, and I just tell Koi, hey, before we come back, we might do that.
Yeah.
But in any case, keep an eye on your email and your Patreon itself. We send a message to both places, so we make sure you get it. Thank you so much to everybody who continues to support the show on Patreon. Patreon.com/KoiCast. That is where you want to be if you want to enter into this contest, as well if you want access to all the other fun perks that come with being a patron, including shop discounts, including all of the weekly patron-only pods where
so many.
Coy and I dive into all the art that we've enjoyed or not enjoyed.
That's where we'd usually put this Wakanda talk.
Yeah,
but we've decided. If you like the talk we're about to have about Wakanda, that's a sneak preview.
But congrats, James. Let me write his name in the official list here before I forget.
Martinez, December.
James Martinez, the December Unpunchable gift horse of the month.
Holiday gifts, man. They're the big ones. That's a big deal.
Alrighty, so you want to talk about Wakanda Forever?
I'm so curious your thoughts because you have a negative tone about it that I did not expect.
It's by the way, spoilers abound for Wakanda.
For a month old.
We'll see you next
This is
week.
the last thing we're talking about.
Koicast.com for all the stuff. And
we got shirts, we got mugs, we got masks.
DragonWagonRadio.com/support. Give something this season. It's really helpful. And at Coy Jandro and at Jake Bacon.
Hot and hotline heavy next week.
Yeah, we get it. Whatever. We'll do that. We're going to do that again.
You're going to hear it again.
Just in case people bail on us.
That's fair.
Go to the things.
The 7 people that haven't seen Wakanda.
Go to the things.
Go to see the things.
Okay. Impossible Task by Ryan Coogler.
Correct.
I think that Ryan did the best he possibly could under the circumstances that he was given and that he was forced. This movie had an impossible task of honoring an actor, a real human being, a character who dies off screen, who we don't get to mourn, who we are forced to mourn through the performances of his loved ones who we have not spent nearly as much time with as other members of this universe we are familiar with. It was just an impossible task. Right off of the bat, I felt the void that was not having not just Chadwick Boseman, but not having T'Challa in this movie. We talked about this for ages. I was always team recast because I think that there are so few, cultural heritage characters for Black actors. And I think that by just saying, well, T'Challa's gone, we're taking that away from people. And we'll get to that later, obviously. But I am understanding that, no, we're gonna do this. We're gonna tell the story. And I believe that you do have this built-in thing where the mantle gets passed. That's great. Like, I'm all for that. And so that is the like, even though I would prefer the other thing, I'm not just upset. That's the only, I'm not just butthurt over the fact that they didn't recast. So I'm not one of those guys, because I know that there are a lot of
those guys.
And they're just online being upset for all the wrong reasons. I mean, let's see, like where to start. I have a lot of thoughts about the movie. It was an emotional experience, not in necessarily all the same ways I think the movie wanted. For a movie about a death of a person that we all love and a character that we all loved, with performances that were outstanding, I think Angela Bassett's performance is maybe too good for this movie.
I wish she could get the Oscar nom she deserves.
I think Letitia Wright was outstanding. I don't think she was capable of carrying this movie and this story. And I think it's has nothing to do with the ability of the actor necessarily. It feels similar to me the way that Sam Wilson, okay? You have what's his name, Anthony Mackie.
Yep.
Cast as the comedic relief character to be us.
Right.
Sam Wilson was his first one Civil War?
Winter Soldier.
Right? Is us.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the normal person in this sea of fantasy.
Sure.
So was Shuri.
Right.
Shuri, yes, she's still the super genius in this spacey technological country that doesn't exist, but she's still a teenager on Earth in modern day. And you cast the perfect person. Letitia Wright is so good as Shuri, but she's still a teenager in America and still our connection to this universe. And now that's gone. That connection doesn't exist. They attempted to hand it off in what is probably the biggest problem in this movie, and that is it had to still be an MCU machine movie. If this movie was simply just a small movie about the loss, just with Letitia and the family, and it didn't have to introduce Ironheart and Namor and the not Atlanteans and It didn't have to push all that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think it would have been a better movie. It just would have not gotten made.
Right.
Like they had to do all these things that really took away from this emotional story because, like this to me felt like, all right, it's not Iron Man 1 because Iron Man 1 was so rooted in tech of the potential reality. But in the way that Iron Man 1 was technical fiction.
Sure.
Iron Man 2 is science fiction.
I agree.
Black Panther 1 was technical fiction, and now Black Panther 2 is Superman.
Right.
You know what's a better analogy? Imagine if Reeves introduces Superman in the Batman 2.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like Black Panther 1, for all of its magic tech, was still kind of rooted in reality.
It still felt like Wakanda was tangible.
Yeah. And now Superman is here.
Right. And that eliminates... I personally did not think that Namor was Namor. And that's the one thing I want to talk to you about. Remember I told you there was something specific I want to talk to you about?
Interesting.
So I think this is one of those interesting times where he's the exact right antagonist for the movie because he tells that exact story and he's the exact... Like the actor did everything.
Right.
At no point was he arrogant.
Can I say, like, he
didn't feel like Namor once to me.
They did a bad job of... I loved him.
Really?
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this guy's got some points, and not in the Killmonger way.
No.
In the Killmonger way, where you're like, fuck, I feel bad that I identify with him.
No.
But you still know he's bad. Whereas with Tenoch, I was like, that makes sense.
Right.
He's speaking my language. And that seems fair.
And it's also the instance of, in a movie called Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the thing I was most interested in was not Atlantic. What's the name of the city?
Tenochans, I think.
Kenosha?
Yeah, something like that.
Tenoka? Was there a K in there?
I think it was CHA.
Okay.
Tenoka.
Okay. That was the most interesting thing to me.
Oh, no. That's the actor's name. Talokan.
Right,
it wasn't the K.
Talokan. Yeah. So like that city, and that was the most interesting. I wanted to see more of that. But the problem is again, this is just an impossible task. Like think about what he had going against him. The story he wanted to tell.
Mm-hmm.
The
original
story
idea.
he was forced to tell. I have some inside information on this, thanks to some Thanksgiving dinner with some people who work on these movies. A massive problem with, and this is not news to anybody, is the CG and special effects being decimated to the point where they were like, there are no more houses available globally. There is not a single VFX artist left to be hired to finish the thing. So like, honestly, I thought that the universe was ugly. It was not very nice looking.
Oh,
like
the
visual effects.
it
was.
Yeah, so many people I know were praising when they went underwater and saw that city. I was like, that was when I'd go to the bathroom. Because I've seen it 3 times.
Depressing.
And I literally was like, this is not a place I'd want to go.
It reminded me of what we were criticizing Captain Marvel, those hallways of the spaceship that seemed like they were from Doctor Who.
I could just open that door. Like it felt cheap.
Yeah. It just, the
production design felt like hollow in a way. And that was my issue with Talokan was like, I identify with these characters, but I feel bad for them. And then I feel like he's got some of the right ideas.
Well, yeah, but it was just too much. Again, it was too much. The movie, I saw people complain the movie was too long. The movie wasn't long enough.
To do that story.
To do that. And to also throw in a terrible Ironheart. The actress is great. Again, I'm not taking anything away from performances. This movie was filled with exceptional performances.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler can direct the fuck out of some
Oh
actors.
my God. Doing the best he can with forcing things that didn't seem like they were organic, right? So I mean, I'm trying to think of some other points. I feel like I'm all over the place with just like some criticism. I want to say like performances were great, and Letitia did a great job.
I felt more emotion in this movie than I expected to. I expected to a lot. I cried a lot.
I cried everything. I did not shed a single tear.
Wow, and that's the opposite of you.
No, that's not true.
I'm not a crier.
I think I shed a tear during the opening Marvel thing with Just
That
T'Challa.
was beautiful.
But then I didn't. Well, we all know it was coming too, because it's what they always do. They didn't withstand. They did it all the time. In fact, they did it for him.
Right.
Like around the time he passed, what was the other movie that did it for? That was all him, because it was the one that came out right after he had passed away.
I think it was online. I don't think it was in a movie, because we haven't seen a full big screen Jess Chadwick thing yet.
Oh, I thought we did.
I could be
anyways,
wrong. One of us, I could be wrong. But I the post credit got me, dude. I fucking broke when we met like his kid. When we met
post credit, good. Everything bled together. All
right,
right,
it was literally like
let's
the
talk about that,
post-credit.
which also drives me fucking crazy. I get it. This was their way to go, hey, the character's kind of not gone.
Yeah.
So it turns out they have a secret kid. I have a real hard time swallowing this pill that everything that we saw about who this man was in the original Black Panther, which, by the way, I think if you look at that kid, he had the kid by then.
Or yeah, but he got blipped to the 6 years.
Yeah, but still, what I'm saying is that what I'm trying to get is he had the kid around that point, right?
Right.
Everything that we're led to believe about that man and his connection to his lineage and his family and that community and the throne, the man who's all about, hey, for the first time ever, maybe we need to lower the shield of Wakanda and give. We still need to protect ourselves, but we should be in the universe or the global market. We should be a part of the global, conversation as, not to the extent that Killmonger wanted it, but here's this dude who's so entrenched in his story and like this dude doesn't have he sends his kid to fucking war-torn, impoverished Haiti. Are you kidding me? And they try to bury the thing like, oh, like grandma knew and everybody knew it was a secret.
That's a really good point.
I mean, and I get that he's with her and she's fucking a badass and she's arguably the best thing there is, but like it was just that was a real hard pill to swallow. But again, it felt like Ryan Coogler doing the best he can to appease all of the stories he had to tell.
Yeah.
Because the truth now is, oh, maybe this is the T'Challa that we know from the comics. Maybe this is the T'Challa.
Right.
And in fact, our, Boseman played the great grandfather
of,
or I'm sorry, the father of the T'Challa that we knew, and it's not necessarily King T'Chaka, and it's like, like it's a different version of the same story,
right?
And so that's why he could maybe he can
talk to the ancestral plane and have some of the powers that the comic character does.
And maybe he can be the Black Panther of our future generation, and maybe he's the one who maybe has a relationship with Storm sometime down the line. Like, so they got all of those things in, but at the sacrifice of, I think, a more cohesive, better second chapter to this greater story that I felt like they had. I mean, the fucking Midnight Angels.
I could not stand.
God.
They looked bad, dude.
And it was also just it was the worst possible. That scene where what's her name? Okoye, thank you, is stripped of her title.
Yeah. Oh man, that
is the most powerful scene in the movie.
I agree.
And so we'll start there for a moment. That's the scene where I go like, fuck, like this, I almost, again, like, and this, again, I'm not taking anything away from Letitia as a performer. It's about the right casting for a role, right? Letitia's, I think, in 5-10 years from now, Letitia will be there as an actress, but she's still the teenager in America who we're connected to. And when she's having that performance and Letitia's having her like inner angst, I'm not connected. I like the story again. The story that they told with her being like, oh, I'm kind of science. I'm kind of science versus religion. You know me, I'm all for that story. Yeah. It was interesting. And I love her ancestral plane was gorgeous, spoiled for me, of course, because of the internet. But there's great stuff in there, but Letitia just didn't, it was not her fault. I'm not blaming it on her as a performer. It's simply the casting, right? Of like this character at this point in her life, after losing what she lost, and we're us watching it through almost a third party, because now we don't have the human.
Yeah, our eye line, we don't have.
Yeah. So anyway, so I digress. That scene is one of the best scenes.
Yeah.
And then that cultivating in what I thought was going to be, well, now that you're no longer, now that Okoye is no longer that. By the way, that was the first thing where I went like, she's also going to be a Panther.
Yeah.
Like, so we have all of these, that scene could have gone so many ways.
They juggled that idea. Well, like apparently they discussed Okoye becoming a Panther, and I was like, fuck.
Let's get there, because one of my other issues I have is an expectation issue, which is it's the last thing I want to mention, because it's minor, because it's like, I'm an idiot if I think that, well, I had an idea.
They owe you.
Well, yeah, of course. I'm not that kind of fan. But, but anyways, that scene, so powerful, and it ends with us losing her. And by the way, where is that funeral for the queen? We saw what happened for the king.
Yeah.
And now the queen, and it's the queen mother, and it's just like, oh, we're going to go to the woods. And it's felt so, like, it felt so quick, so rushed.
Yeah.
That even her death, I was like, oh, well, she's gone now.
And there's even a line of like, take 10 days, bury your dead. I was like, let us mourn
It
her.
was so, honestly, that to me, I was so upset that she's gone. That to me felt like, what, like we didn't need that. It was so excessive. Like,
it was just for the Letitia, right?
And I get it.
Of like, I get the storytelling element.
Again, but it was so rushed for what they were in the same movie. You have fucking all this other shit happening. All these things you're introducing. Like, there was no room to breathe. Like this felt to me like the problem I have with like the group movie that's just like, oh, we're going to tell all these stories and it's all going to make sense. And it's like, well, it would have been better if it was one of those things. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that scene stems off in all these different directions. One, you have her I've given everything. Well, guess what? Haven't given everything because now you're going to give yourself.
Yeah.
And okay, you save another character, which is a beautiful moment because in the very end you still proved yourself, but then that character has no bearings on anything. Like, we didn't get to know her at all whatsoever. It was so ham-fisted. The Ironheart suit is atrocious. And I get that this was the 30th movie.
Yeah.
I get that we're 30 movies in. We no longer need the Tony Stark figuring out how to fly thing.
We don't need the pearls.
But at some point or another, it would be nice if not everybody is just a superhero, right? Right off of the bat. And so she's given that suit. Then we have Okoye, who I'm thinking like, oh, all right, we're going to do something interesting. We set up that she thinks the thing is ugly. How many of these did you make? Okay, good. You and your partner, whose name I don't even think they even said in the movie.
If they did,
yeah.
Once.
And then the god-awful action trope of, wait for my signal. What is yours? The signal was, we're dead now?
Yeah.
Why didn't you? And then they just come out for a terrible shot that could just be in a trailer. And that brings me to the action. The action in this movie is atrocious. It's bowling shoe fucking ugly. And I know for a fact it's because Ryan Coogler and the DP were at odds about everything.
Oh.
Because the DP liked things a certain way and nobody else liked them that way.
Fuck.
I learned all about some behind the scenes stuff about loving things being out of focus.
What?
Loving the I like it when stuff is shaking in and out and that angsty sort of we're there and it's intimate, but it doesn't match the rest of the movie.
Coogler shoots movies. Coogler shoots them clean and
Yep. I also learned that there's stuff that was edited. There's some of the visual effects in the movie was terrible. At times it looked like it was shot. I felt like times it looked like they turned on motion smoothing in the theater. And a lot of that stuff was stuff that looked bad because it was shot poorly, and then the visual effects couldn't
So
fix
the best
it.
they could clean it up.
So what they did was they would punch in and change the edit, and then by the time it got released, everything was undone. And they went back to these shots that were there's a shot infamously called the Barbershop Quartet, which is the day that Namor attacks, and it's the first time we see a real sunny Wakanda.
Yeah.
And it's the shot of M'Baku and his men.
Yeah.
And it's just this terrible worm's eye view of the four of them, and they look like they're so detached from the background. Do you know the shot? You've seen it a few times. That shot specifically, it's colloquially known as the Barbershop Quartet because it just looks really bad and it's shot so plain and square. So they punched in and tried to digitally create stuff for them.
Texture, something.
And it ended up getting all pulled back out for some reason because there was internal issues. But so the action's just so bad. And then there's you know me, man. I like a little bit of logic in my magic. You've got this most powerful African nation.
Yeah.
And they're fighting gods. By the way, these people can't die. We've already learned.
Yeah.
That every one of them is immortal. It's not just Superman. It's super army.
Yeah.
Because she stabs them through with wounds that should have killed them, and then they got up and walked away. You have this army that's unstoppable.
Except that one nurse that can die, which they don't explain.
Nope.
In my brain,
with a magic gun or something.
With a sound
gun.
My idea was that maybe there's different, you become the race that you're you become the job that you're built for.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe, yeah.
I'm hardy. I'm a warrior. I'm soft. I'm a nurse. But I would have liked something because maybe the herb, when you're born, it adjusts to you, something.
Who knows?
But I was why is one of them mortal?
Or it is just the warriors that are immortal. Or there are different levels of the
ants
of how the magic. Well, not just that, but how the magic works.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted something.
But anyway, you have an unstoppable army who will dominate you in the ocean because they control everything. You can't breathe on the water. And you are going to build a ship, by the way, the ugliest designed ship in any sci-fi thing ever, which is a big square.
And Wakandans, the tech is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Wakandan tech is always stunning.
And that's just this big, ugly Borg ship. And then you're going to go fight them on the ocean?
It looks like a villain from Dune shit. You know what I mean? Dune always has that obelisk.
Yeah. But why didn't you bring the fight to the desert, you idiots?
She did.
The logic, but the logic was
that's
so
what I'm saying.
flawed.
But if she knew, then they would know. It's not like it's an original idea. Obviously that's the solution.
Right. But it was just that whole action sequence at the end. I was like, what is happening?
And you kill Lake Bell.
We're doing. Oh my God. By the way, the movie opened and I was like, Lake Bell's in the MCU. This is my favorite. This is my favorite.
I got so excited.
And I was like, oh.
I love Lake Bell so much.
Me too.
Yeah, I was real bummed about it.
So that was really a heartbreaking moment. But
that's so funny. We're both Lake Bell's here.
It was so many things about it were just so disappointing. And I think I went in with really high hopes because everybody was like, dude, 5-star movie, best thing I've ever cried my eyes out. And I was like, listen, again, he did the best he could.
Yeah.
It was not unentertaining.
Sure.
It was just at times incredibly frustrating.
I gave it 4 stars the first time I saw it. I gave it 4.5 the second because I cried a lot more.
Okay.
I think it lands at a 4. Because I think my second viewing, I think was I'm purely emotional because of this experience, but that's not the movie.
No, yeah.
I need to, so I think it's a 4 for me.
I'm going to say, I think out of all the movies, with the exception of maybe Strange 2, like this might be the last one on the list of things that I probably will rewatch. Because I think I'm going to watch all the movies again thing is going to die now. There's 30 movies deep.
There's no way.
We're not doing that anymore. When we used to do it where it was like, before...
Let's check out. Like, I might do 1 and 2 before Black Panther 3, but I won't do 30 movies for 31 movies.
I can't imagine this being high on the rewatch list.
Whereas I can't wait to rewatch Guardians 1 and 2.
Right. So there's all of that stuff. And then there is, of course, what I was going to get at before, which is like the expectations. I like that. Shuri should become Black Panther. Like, it makes sense. Again, I feel like in this movie, I had an inkling in my mind that the movie's called Wakanda Forever. And that in the absence of T'Challa, the only way to fill this gap was that we were going to have multiple Panthers.
Sure.
And then when the movie starts with her trying to synthesize the herb,
right.
Well, now we can make as much of this as we want.
Right.
And I thought, because of the few trailers I did see, because I skipped like the last one, the one where you told me, oh, we can tell who it's not. I thought like, oh, they're keeping it ambiguous.
Right.
I thought we were gonna have like the way that they defeat Namor, who's unstoppable, is by strength in numbers.
Right.
Is by Wakanda as a nation.
If this many Talokans can be powerful,
if we had
Okoye,
M'Baku, Shuri,
which apparently was also written.
By the way, I was also like, I want to see the Queen Mother.
Oh,
I was like, at some point I was
in
like
a white,
yes,
you know what I mean? Like
I wanted to see
the way she was dressed all the time. I was like, white Black Panther.
So I get it. Like, and I get that that's my expectation.
Sure.
And I don't think that what we got was bad. Sure. But it was also like, the visual effects were bad. Like the suit didn't look great for a lot of it, and it pulled me out of it. And her reveal was very
nonplussed,
underwhelming.
Yeah, I definitely was like, okay.
And like there's just a lot of those little logic things where I just thought like, God, I love you, Marvel, but you're really starting to feel like you're just making trailers now. Why the hell would the greatest warriors be hiding behind the safe so that you could come in and potentially kill a few people in your vibranium station just for the cool shot of them coming out of the dark? I
mean, I rationalized that as like, we need to show a force of strength, and we need to capture them, and we need to do it all like in
Alexandra's argument was like, oh, well, they were tipped off, they knew they were coming, so it was an element of surprise. I was like, you're the most badass, you could have surprised them just by being outside.
But I like the idea that it was intimidation.
Yeah, I know. And Alexandra's like, well, see, she needed to capture them to bring them to the UN.
That's what we're on the same page.
I was like, yeah, you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the writers here. But again, like, it's just, I was disappointed.
Yeah. What'd you give it?
I think 3 or 3.5.
Wow.
Because I don't think it didn't succeed at what it wanted to do.
Yeah.
Or what it intended to do. Because what it intended to do was move the Marvel machine along in a way that I think pulled away from the emotional capacity and the ways that other movies have succeeded. I think there are lots of other movies who have done a better job of moving it along, but emotionally, it's unfortunate too, because it's like, fuck, we're introducing like these women who are like this important part of the next phase. And it's unfortunate because it's like, these are the stories that are, I feel like the same thing that happened with America Chavez. Like, it was just like Shuri and America, or not, I'm sorry, not Shuri, Ironheart and America Chavez are the same.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think Captain Marvel suffered for, and
it's unfortunate that that's like kind of the way it's going. And then like, there's lots of other things, like we talked about it, about like, does Aquaman, does Aquaman talk to fish and Namor
they all
not
talk to fish?
Because Namor every now and then he does talk to fish in comics, but it's not generally a thing. And somehow they use all these sea creatures. And again, Alexandra tried to will it. It's like, well, they use them in the way that we use horses and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but they were like using their tails to like,
they were
help
like
fly.
Offensive.
I was like, they were also pissed.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. They jumped out of the water and did unnatural shit.
It was very, there was a lot of those
Boston
moments.
Harbor.
There's just
I got to see my home.
Yeah, I'm sure you enjoyed that very much. But again, like there's some incredible visuals. Honestly, I thought young Namor was probably the most intriguing part of the entire movie. Like I want to see him growing up. Like that to me was awesome.
Can't do it though. Universal owns him.
But tying it into history, real world history,
that was really cool.
Brilliant. Like
also Namor, the use of the name.
That's what I'm saying. Like tying all of that is brilliant.
I don't think that's from the comics. I'm saying the actual
not
name.
At all.
Yes, dope as fuck.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. They took this character that I don't know. I haven't read Namor recently.
Right.
Whether that has been a thing that they've done in the comics and that's been his heritage, but connecting it to this heritage that, by the way, feels very different from Aquaman, which I think was the thing they were doing a very good job of, it's like, well, Aquaman, he's like half Samoan, and so we're gonna get into like, even though his mother is just another
Nicole Kidman,
for some reason there's just some white, like there's no different ethnicities in Atlantis, but like this is a departure of that, but it's really beautiful, and the actor is so good and captivating, and again, I think this is the difference. I think these other characters that we've seen have to be forced to play superheroes, we aren't just doing an action movie presence. And I think that actor has it in the way that Letitia did not have it. And those moments, anytime it was a scene with the both of them,
you were so interested in Namor.
I was losing a little bit of what was happening with Letitia, and the character motivations are great. Like, it's also written well.
For me, I had that even bigger with Killmonger. When Killmonger was on screen, I was like, this fucking movie.
I know.
Like, that was my issue, was like, I know why. And I love that they made that choice.
Great.
But when you have the duality and you see it, that's a problem.
Yeah.
We got to scoop, but this is what we do on the Patron-only pod. If you want to hear us discuss art.
It was not an unenjoyable experience. I wish it was longer.
Yeah.
But I think this was an instance where Marvel's fingers were in it in a way that,
and they're looking at that. Like, that's what I'm really intrigued by at the Bob switch, is like this feels like they looked at phase 4 and went, ooh.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that they moved up the phase 4 line. When they talked about phase 4 about a year ago, I heard quotes that this was only halfway through phase 4, and now phase 4 is over. I feel like they want a clean line in the sand of like, things got better phase 5.
Right.
Like, I think this was.
Yeah. And I also just think that it doesn't feel like there's as clean as a plan as there was. I know. So I'll save this for the Patreon only pod. There's I have some insights into Eternals.
Oh,
specifically. I'm sorry, not Eternals. I'm sorry, I lied. I have some insights into Doctor Strange 2, and something that might blow your mind. I don't know if you know it or not, and I'll tell everybody on the Patreon only pod.
Oh yeah,
about how random some of this stuff actually is, and a certain person that was in that movie up until the day that they weren't. That, by the way, it shows that maybe things aren't as meticulous as we think they are.
All right. Patreon only pod. I'm excited. All right, you lovelies, that's going to do it. Please do rate and review this on Apple Podcasts, and you can rate this on Spotify Podcasts at the little 5 stars. Help us know we're doing the right thing. Check out koicast.com for merch. We got shirts, we got mugs, we got masks, we got a Patreon wherein you can hear us discuss art like we just did with Wakanda Forever, but about all sorts of things, TV shows, movies, plays, books we've been enjoying, like all sorts of stuff over in the Patreon, and a tease to what's to come with some Doctor Strange 2 goodness.
125 episodes as of recording. That is
staggering.
There's 125 conversations about, and each one of those is multiples.
I'd say like 6 on average. Because we usually do like maybe. On average. Because sometimes we got like 10.
Early in the earlier episodes, it was a lot less than that.
Right.
But at some point it got really crazy, and then it's also slowed down depending on. But
I'd say on average like 6.
Okay, I might go a little bit less than for the average. For the sake of average,
okay,
I might say
5
or 5.
We rarely have 2 each though.
Yeah.
If we have 3 each, that's 6.
Right. You know, fuck it. I rescind all.
All right, good.
All aggression.
So 6 times a 125 is 600 plus 150. 750 things we've reviewed.
Yeah.
On average.
Yeah.
Check it out. And then also follow us on social media. I'm at Coy Jandro. He's at Jake Lloyd Bacon. You can use hashtag Coycast to get our attention. It's been amazing seeing and meeting Coycast listeners at all these cons. Going to talk about cons a little bit more next week and or the week after. But yeah, it's been a really cool thing to meet you guys face to face. You can call 818-794-0722. That's 818-794-0722 in order to be the co-host of the Hot and Hotline Heavy Weeks, wherein you leave your voicemails. Next week is the last Hot and Hotline Heavy of the year. Yeah. So if you call now, you won't hear it till next year.
Yeah,
so
you can still call if you'd like.
Just know it's going to be January.
Yeah. And our first week back from the new year is probably going to be our Letterboxd year in review.
So excited.
So
one of my faves.
So it'll probably be a few weeks, but listen, they're there.
They're there.
We don't delete them.
We listen. We see what's
when they
topical.
First come in. Yes, right. Exactly.
If it's like talking about perhaps your favorite Christmas movie, maybe we won't use it in January. But leave a voicemail and we'll get to it. You can send a voicemail to contact@koicast.com as well. If you want to, send it that way. Maybe you're in Europe. Maybe you're in Japan. I don't know where you're from, but maybe you can send it that way.
Maybe you just like the way it sounds better.
Maybe. I think the voice memo will walk around.
But you do miss out on the sweet outgoing voicemail.
People love it. The people have spoken. I'm proud because I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. And I thought
I
thought it was only for us.
Oh, it is.
I thought it would last a week.
It should have.
It should have. Frankly, we apologize and you're welcome.
And before we get out of here, 'tis the end of the year and it's the season of giving. And so I always like around this time to please ask that you go check out a little website called dragonwagonradio.com/support. There is a little video that you can watch in which I will explain to you exactly what Dragon Wagon Radio is and how it all works. Give you a little behind the scenes, a little bit of numbers and some stats, and explain how you can show your support for this independent podcast network that could. Dragon Wagon Radio has 20 different shows that have flown the banner, and no sponsorships, no benefactors, no advertisers. It's all completely free to you to listen to regardless. So if you're enjoying this program or any programs on Dragon Wagon Radio, I please urge you to go check out dragonwagonradio.com/support this holiday season.
And we appreciate each and every one of you being here and sharing this podcast as well. So tell your friends. It's been cool to see this grow. So much love. We'll see you next week. Happy holidays. And we appreciate you. See you then.
More than 400 years ago, there was a man who lived in Stratford-upon-Avon named Shakespeare. This is the man many consider to be the greatest writer of all time. Of course, the few things we really know about this guy are that he sold grain, didn't bother to teach his children to read or write, and was kind of a jerk to his wife, especially in his last will and testament. Meanwhile, 100 miles away from Stratford, on Elizabethan stages, plays were being performed written by someone signing the name William Shakespeare, a writer who often lampooned the monarchy and put his life at risk by doing so. The sort of thing that one may use a pseudonym for, sort of to, protect their identity. Surely you see where I'm going with this. A mistake was made all those years ago, and we attributed those legendary works to the wrong dude. Which begs the question, who really was William Shakespeare? Join me, Stephen Sable, as I invite historians, researchers, lawyers, artists, authors, and more to explore this fascinating mystery of Shakespeare authorship on my podcast called Don't Quill the Messenger. You can hear it now at don'tquillthepodcast.com or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now.
It's Dragon Wagon.